Satam Season 3, Issue 4. We start out seeing some darkness and a white light, with a text saying that there's no return from the road you now tread, some black text saying that's his choice, calling him master, and then the light shines in Ix's eye and he says the word forever. That came out of nowhere. I hope that gets elaborated on more. He tells Ixis he's found something, and then we see Sonic flying a plane on the way to what I assume is the same mountain they found the secret scrolls in. This better be wrapping up that major dangling plot thread of them forgetting the scrolls existed once they got them. Or at least using the scrolls when they find them again. Otherwise, what's the point of them coming back to this specific place? The heroes are scared by Sonic's reckless plane driving skills and rough landing. Though I understand why Sonic says the landing was perfect because nobody got hurt. But you'd think if they know that Sonic's bad at driving the plane, Sally would have shown some authority by saying, no, you can't drive it again. Tails asks why he couldn't come to this cool looking place last time. Yup, it is the Secret Scrolls place. Sally thinks that coming here will solve the riddle of the Guardian. Something Naga said last time got her thinking, the word wonders that he used. The Guardian Scroll talks about 7 different kinds of power which stem from chaos, while the Secret Scrolls describe the 7 wonders of Mobius. So she thinks there's a connection. Sonic doubts her because these two always have to disagree on everything. And Sally thinks it's worth a shot because she wants to free her father as soon as possible. They sit on the glowing sofa with Sonic telling Tails he'll love this part, and he finds the sofa launching him really fun. Yeah, it's like an amusement park ride. I just have to wonder how no one gets injured from the landing. I don't remember them landing on soft cushions or a net or anything. Sally says they're looking for symbols, texts, anything that might give them more insight on the origin of the city and its people. Is this Angel Island? Are we finally going to get a fan comic bothering to fill in the plot holes, Knuckles' backstory and stuff, instead of purely Penders doing it? I'd love that. I mean, even the people who hate on the kind of stuff for some reason, you'd think they'd like seeing a different take on it by a more skilled writer. Like a do it right this time. Sally says there hasn't been any wind burst since they got here. Knuckles? She says they should go to the wind tunnel to see if something's wrong with it. Sonic says they'll have to go in because it's so deep that they can't see the bottom. Antoine whines about coming with them, and I guess the only reason he's not told to just stay behind is because who knows what might happen to him on his own. Bunny says she noticed Sally's particularly gung-ho about all this, acting serious. Well, in Satam, Sally was a bit more upbeat rather than looking determined like a badass. I guess Bunny's intelligence is in her social skills, her understanding Sally as a person, though that doesn't impress me, especially since it didn't do anything to keep her from making stupid mistakes throughout the series, like wanting to stay in a city with an electromage who could control her twice. She is worried about Sally when she says she has to keep running to keep herself distracted. And they find a whole bunch of texts around the walls, with Knuckles in the room. It almost looks as if it's a bunch of texts like a madness mantra from someone trying to deal with being alone and crazy. Because he's the only one in the room and there's texts everywhere. But I know that's not how it is. And Sonic's not happy about seeing him. Why? He never did anything to you. Just because he was all formal and acted too mysterious, he saved Tails' life. But oh, he's Knuckles, so of course he has to have a rivalry with him before even properly getting to know him, before he'd even work with Eggman. Please tell me he won't work with Snively or anything, that'd be stupid. This version of Knuckles seems smarter than that, and it wouldn't be original at all. I mean, like working with a Robotnik. With Sonic being all mad and antagonistic to him for turning off the wind tunnel, Knuckles says that he put out the wind tunnel so we could examine its heart, the crystal. Bunny is impressed, and Sally says the crystal must be what separates the winds from the tunnel. Knuckles isn't sure he's inclined to answer her questions, and at least lampshades that he has no reason not to trust the heroes, but says that he had investigated the other forces their team has trifled with other than the Power Stones, and doesn't like it. He says that the city of Magic, get it? Is only his latest stop in seeing which places the heroes have been to, because he knows which places they've been to specifically for some reason. You know, he has access to all of the records. Yeah, he's been to the Floating Island, the Forbidden Zone, and Druid Hedge, which were all visited by the heroes. So I guess he's just assuming they're evil purely because they want magical stuff, even though they're obviously fighting against an evil dictator and that would justify it. Idiot. See, this is how he's supposed to be an idiot, this specifically. Because he doesn't know who to trust and who to see as a villain from not socializing enough. Knuckles insists that the heroes' actions may put the whole planet in jeopardy. Is Sonic gonna actually tell him that not doing so would do that much worse because of trying to fight Robotnik? Oh good, he says they've been busting their asses trying to save the planet, and asks, where have you been hiding all that time? Good point. What kind of a hero does that? Knuckles is an idiot saying that their motives are somehow irrelevant, and it's still just as risky using these magical things. Why? Is there a random risk of them all exploding because the magical relics decided to be dicks? Tails takes advantage of his innocent naivety for good by telling Knuckles with a nervous smile that while he saved his life and so he knows he's a good person, he needs to give them a chance here. Giving him a chance by trying to reason with him. Sonic tells Tails that the right thing doesn't add up to anything in Knuckles' book, so he's more neutral. On the one hand, this is completely in character for Knuckles, but on the other hand, I really find him irritating. At least with Penders in the Knuckles comic, he made him open up his heart to people because he became friends with the Chaotix, and later warmed up to Sonic. That made him more likable. He was even like a strong leader type in the Chaotix. So Knuckles is neutral here. But I thought him wanting to keep them from using magical relics was his morality, because he doesn't want them to do evil things with them. Sally tries to translate the symbols on the wall with Nicole because Knuckles won't help them. And she's doing this right in front of him. Will he try to stop them? Nicole then says password accepted and makes a buzzing sound as if she's crashing or being taken over. And Knuckles calls the heroes idiots for leading them straight to it. Some smoke shows up, and Ixis and Snively show up, with Snively all safe in a flying machine with a red light camera footage. Either that or he's safe at home and talking through a flying camera machine. I can't really tell. We aren't seeing enough of his machine. Ixis says that his tracking sense was flawless, making it clear that the heroes didn't lead them to this place. But Knuckles doesn't admit that and apologizes like a decent person. Ixis recognizes Knuckles in his cloak because he saw him with Sonic and Tails earlier. And Snively says he wants the crystal from what Ixis calls a remote-controlled doll. The doll can shoot lasers. Sally says that they need to distract him to get them somewhere more open, and Knuckles fails to realize that this will indeed protect the Master Emerald. You know, I hated the games, Knuckles, and part of the reason was him betraying Sonic for Eggman all the time, and part of it was behavior like this. He just isn't a team player. Sonic lampshades that Antoine screaming is distracting them, and Bunny punches Ixis in the face, wanting payback for him brainwashing and freezing her earlier. Tails stands up for Sally, and Sally tells Knuckles that he can take the crystal with her. Fortunately, Sally was able to convince Knuckles as the mediator, and Ixis smacks Bunny into the wall. Knuckles' crystal, for the sake of originality, is a glowing yellow weirdly shaped little stone, explaining how he can carry it wherever he wants. Bunny resentfully lampshades Knuckles' uselessness. Yeah, I really would expect Knuckles to be more useful than this with his, super strength and everything. And Sonic shows up, saving Antoine. Sonic tells everyone to grab on, and he runs away. Ixis says that no matter where they go, the crystal will lead him straight to them. So there's nowhere for them to run. Can Ixis only teleport short distances? Because if not, he should just be able to teleport himself to them immediately. What's the holdup? Bunny says that since they can't run from the bad guys, they have to fight them. Yeah, and what are they gonna do, kill them? No, of course not. They're not gonna solve the problem permanently. They probably can't seal Ixis away with the crystal, and that would be too easy anyways. So Bunny's just being an idiot because their fight will only be a waste of time. It was amusing though that Antoine panicked, saying that was not what he said at all. Sally says that if this takes a turn for the worse, she wants Sonic to get Tails and the others to Knothole, and foolishly leave her behind to her death to get that crystal. Ixis arrives in smoke, and he turns into shadow so Sonic can't spin dash him. Somehow Ixus can sense that Knuckles is not like the heroes. What, he can sense specific morality? They're just giving him new powers as the plot demands. I can understand his powers from the comic, but this? Ixus sends Knuckles away. Sally makes a bullheaded move, jumping at Ixus from behind, but because she didn't have a weapon to use, the same surprise attack that worked for Bonnie against the robot just got Sally kidnapped and choked. Ixus freezes Sonic's feet again, pointing out that his speed is no match for his magic. Yeah, that's a good point. Why the fuck couldn't Flynn have written Ixus to just do that to Sonic to justify the Council of Acorns not thinking he could win against Ixus? That would have ended the fight immediately. And even if he bullshit powered his way out of the ice, he just frees him again. I'm sorry, it's hard not to think of that horrible arc with how badly it used Ixus compared to this. Sonic, in a consequence to Tails nearly being killed, panics at Tails wanting to save him, shouting no, and since Knuckles remembers that Sally tried to save him very gutsily, he fortunately looks sad, doesn't want to abandon them. Yeah, that's the reason, and not just the fact that Ixus will be able to track him down no matter what anyways. At least he showed morality for a change, but it feels out of character by this point. Ixus says he can't concentrate long enough to track the emerald with the heroes getting in the way as Antoine listens to him, wondering what he can do, making me think about how useful he would have been to the team as an unexpected Chekhov's gunman that everyone overlooks if he was a lot more clever in plan making. Knuckles tells Antoine of all people to hold on to the crystal. What, is he gonna trip and drop it? And he surprise punches Ixus. Why are there two copies of the same page? I thought it was gonna be a surprise reveal thing again. Sally pretends she's not weak again, saying she's just tired, and Knuckles punches the ice to free Sonic. Tails thanks him, calling him awesome. It's endearing how much Tails likes and admires Knuckles, looking up to him when he probably shouldn't because he saved his life, in a nice contrast to Sonic. See, this is how it's done. Have Tails have an actual character dynamic with Knuckles, rather than just one with Sonic. Sally throws a bomb at Snively's machine and destroys it. What took her so long? And she fist bumps Sonic, and Sonic high-fives Tails, while Ixus looks almost jealous. Ixus's thoughts remind us of how hollow the victory is, since he can track the crystal down and pick a fight whenever he wants. So why is he leaving them? He doesn't look injured, he doesn't have to go to the hospital. You know, it's pretty obvious that Knuckles needs these guys around now because they're his bodyguards for the inevitable next time Ixus goes after him. Tails shows admiration for Sonic and Sally's help, and Knuckles arbitrarily thinks he can protect the crystal from being tracked as long as it's not in their possession. What do you think tracked Ixus to the crystal last time? The heroes didn't have it back then, you did, idiot! Yeah, this isn't an entertaining idiot, this is just frustrating. He's not even showing obvious arrogance, which would be the only explanation for why he thinks he can protect the crystal just fine alone when he desperately needed all of those heroes to back him up and distract Ixus. What does he think he could do against someone who could shapeshift his head for all he cares? Sally thinks they can find their own way to prevent Ixus from tracking the crystal, and they need its power. For some reason, Antoine thinks Knuckles is right and they couldn't find any way of stopping Nagas, even though Sally just said that they could build something to keep him from tracking the crystal. Well, she didn't say build, but what else could she mean? Because of what Sally said, it makes Antoine look not only horribly disloyal, but an idiot too. When she could have just shut up, and Antoine would have looked smart for wanting to keep Ixus from tracking the crystal down to them over and over and picking fights with them all the time. Also, why does he say in our having? I've never seen an equivalent phrase like that in French. He'd say possession, if anything. Knuckles tells Sonic that his team is in no condition to fight him and walks away. Sonic is naturally irritated with him, but nobody bothers to point out to Knuckles that he needed their help last time, and if Ixus tracks him down again, he'll really have nothing left to do but run, and if Ixus freezes his feet, then he'll be dead and lose the crystal. Nobody thinks to say this. Not even Sally. I guess they all think he's too stupid to be convinced. The heroes look all glum. Sally fortunately says it's okay, interrupting Sonic's apology, and we cut to them back at home. Sonic mentions that apparently Bunny's robot arm was damaged earlier, so Sonic wanted to check in on that, but also wanted to see if Sally was okay. It's reassuring to see that for yourself after all. Sally's been trying to figure out what's wrong with Nicole, who says the security protocols are complete, and she's activating the file Star's Guidance. And Sally is confused because she never had a file like that before. Then she activates a hologram of Alicia Acorn, Sally's mother, looking sad in a green light. Oh, apparently she's called Nicole Acorn instead. She says that the time has come for her to learn a very important truth. Wait, is Nicole actually Sally's mother put into an AI? That wouldn't make any sense because Nicole doesn't act like a person at all and instead like a typical mindless robot slave, aside from when she's talking to Sonic, which comes off more as her wanting to humor him by mimicking him, because she doesn't talk like that all the time. So I'm hoping that Nicole knows the location of Sally's mother, but apparently the queen's name is Nicole. So hopefully it's just that Nicole was named after her mother. I guess that makes a lot more sense, and I suppose it's better for Alicia Acorn to have a different name from Sally's evil twin and Archie. Even if Sally's mom had the name first. It's just that there's already someone named Nicole. It's stepping on its toes. I can understand Nicole not telling her this a lot earlier because she had enough to worry about with her father being missing, without desperately wanting her mother back as well. It's the same reason that Uncle Chuck not telling Sonic about his parents being free-willed was kinda justified. Well, at least a smart reason anyways, and not, oh no, we look different. We don't want you to see us like this. In the second story, we see that Rotor has a diary. Has someone read it already? How does he hide it? He kind of feels bad about being left behind all the time, but if he wasn't left behind, he wouldn't get the chance to work on his inventions. That's actually a really good point. Maybe that's what the Archie comic should have told us to justify Rotor retiring from the action. We see him in front of a SWATbot torso. Seriously, how do they keep getting these robot parts when none of the heroes destroy robots? The bot was brought back to the village for study. Okay, but how? I like that it's mentioned that Rotor triple checked it for any tracking devices that would lead Snively to Knotfold. Even in its badly damaged state, the SWATbot's data banks and vocal functions were still intact, and all it needed was a charge to get running, so he made one for it. Does he think he can convert a SWATbot to goodness without reprogramming it? He justifies that he wants useful info from the bot that he somehow expects and trusts it to give to him. And he shows his curious mad scientist side because he also wants to analyze how it reacts to the situation and learn more about how it's programmed. He just wants to do it because he can. I love this side of Rotor. This is what I want to see in him. Him having a character, him being excited about his inventions and wanting to make them because he can, and doing research on even the most insane, risky things. Though there's a limit, let's not make him a complete idiot with his inventions. Rotor apologizes sheepishly to the robot for all of its damage, and says that he can't help it there and doesn't think he would anyways. The robot asks why, and Rotor is baffled, I guess because he thought it didn't have the intelligence to ask that. Yeah, a robot asking a question is a very important sign of their intelligence, because it shows that they know that someone knows something they don't, which is a degree of intelligence that even takes humans years to learn. And Rotor actually lampshades this since he's smart. I like that the SWATbot is literal-minded. He literally gave him just a second to answer his question. That reminds me of Adam when he was written well. Why is it taking Rotor so long? I don't trust you. That's one sentence. SWATbot says that Rotor is one of his targets as a freedom fighter, and I expected him to somehow be able to attack him, even now, probably from a laser shot from his head. Fortunately for Rotor, that didn't happen. Surprisingly, SWATbot says that he has no reason to consider Rotor as an enemy because he reactivated him, even though he just said that he considers him to be one of his enemies because he's a freedom fighter. So maybe he just confused me earlier. Rotor is impressed that a SWATbot could make that call for himself, and he wonders if the second-hand energy source could be affecting his programming. Yeah, rather than simply giving him more energy to charge him up. Is this another power core situation where a power source gave Shard free will? And that's simply an accident of Eggman's programming? Rotor calls him pal and says he'll patch him up as soon as he can. You better give him a paint job to look all friendly too, or the heroes will be very confused. I guess it's a good thing for SWAT that Sonic can't attack him. I really hope this guy sticks around past this story, instead of vanishing just because he's in a side story, or being destroyed before he can be made use of as a character. Because so far this seems to be what Bullers wanted to do with the SWAT bots Adam would have brought over to help the heroes. It's creative. Rotor says that the reason he thinks of SWAT as a friend is because he's the first SWAT bot he's ever met who doesn't want to kill him. SWAT calls him pal. Well, I think it's more that he repeated the word pal out of confusion because he's never been called it before. Not that he's suddenly calling Rotor that. Rotor says it feels pretty good to be called that. Rotor isn't sure what to do with the SWAT bot and can't really answer its question. And the SWAT bot experiences an energy imbalance. For fuck's sake, is this gonna kill him? Oh, he's a SWAT bot. We can't have that helping the heroes. That would be taking a risk with the writing. Rotor says that if he doesn't deactivate him, the generator will burn out his systems completely and he'll never be able to fix him. He promises SWAT that one day he'll find a way to fix him and get him activated again. Fortunately, SWAT says he understands. The main story was about the heroes meeting Knuckles at the Secret Scrolls place, where instead of finding and using magical scrolls and actually explaining why they didn't use the scrolls at all last time, they leave a major dangling plot thread forever hanging, and instead we have a story where they fight Ixis pointlessly to delay him in finding the crystal. And Knuckles makes the mistake of insisting on wandering off alone with it, when he should have learned that he needs the heroes as extra backup to fight and distract Ixis for him. And any good guardian would realize this. But instead he doesn't trust them, not giving them any information, and leaves like an antisocial moron. Just because this is how Knuckles is in the games. Or at least in SA2, because he's totally different after that. Just because this is Knuckles' expected characterization by fans, doesn't mean I'm gonna like him for it. And Antoine really can get away with anything. Because he blatantly disobeyed orders and didn't even get switched to slap for it. He doesn't have to clean the toilets or anything like that. He doesn't get kicked out of the Freedom Fighters. Are the heroes really that much softies that they won't punish one of them for basically betraying them, good motives or not? Sally really should have been written to say way too early that they might find a way to stop Ixis tracking the crystal, because it just made Antoine's action go from a smart, genre-savvy decision to a rude one. I do like that they had Knuckles guarding a small portable yellow crystal though. It's more original and explains him carrying it around with him. And the side story has Rotor activate a damaged SWAT bot that he somehow got, only for the energy generator recharging it to overload him, and force him to turn it off after he befriended it. It's implied that the energy generator he used magically gave the robot free will intelligence. None of the story makes any sense. I love the idea, but the execution is confusing. I really hope that this won't be forgotten about just because it's a side story. Fleetway gave me trust issues with side stories in that regard. And I really hope that when SWAT is fully repaired, he'll get a different paint job or something so the heroes know to trust him better. I'm not sure if they should risk sending him into Robotropolis as a spy because eventually he'll be caught like Chuck was, because he behaves differently from the other SWAT bots. And he'll be programmed against them, basically killing SWAT as we know him. But if they don't use him for that, then what? If Rotor wants to have a lab assistant, it should be Tails. Doesn't he already have Chuck as a lab assistant? Whatever happened to Rebecca, by the way? I think it's safe to assume he dismantled her, or at least deactivated and hid her. But one, that sounds like, it feels like killing a person, because she had a personality. And two, that's another major example of negative continuity in Satam, and it happened in Season 2.